You mentioned that people who live in that part of the world take for granted that there are going to be difficulties when they try to interface with others, that what they would consider to be the other. But I'm wondering if any of those people have actually had threats or been harassed or have faced real physical consequences of collaborating with intersections in the consortium.
The way that this plays itself out is really interesting in my view. And let me cite a real quick story. The first time I went to Pakistan, very first occasion, I was in a room for about 200, mostly students, and asked the question, how many of you been to America? Of course, none had. What are your thoughts of America? And somebody from the back of the room put his hand up. And this is my first trip to Pakistan, my first event at my first trip in Pakistan. So the first thing I heard from them is, he puts his hand up and he says, "You're all terrorists." All right?
He said all of
Americans are terrorists. So, and this then again gets to the ethics of what we try to be about at intersections, what makes us different. I had a choice at that moment, which was to say, well, no, we're not. Or I could say, well, tell me more. Why do you feel about that? So our approach when we go is to ask questions.
And listen.
And to listen, exactly. So there's another part to this story. So about 6 months later, I'm in central Iowa and doing a kind of a workshop also, and did the same thing. How many of you have been to Pakistan? Of course, nobody had been to Pakistan. So what is your impression of Pakistan? First kid raises his hand and says, they're all terrorists. So you see the divide that we have. You see the ground that we have to make up, because neither of those narratives is accurate, and we have to address those. And that's what we try to do. And we try to do it, as you said, not by going over to Pakistan and telling them what they need to think about us, but by asking questions, by listening, by taking an interest in their lives, not by talking about how we pray or what our liturgies are, what our religious holidays are, but how does your ethical religious perspective impact the way you address electricity in your community, or education, or child welfare, or that kind of thing. And you know, we really got our comeuppance at one point, because we were in one of our sessions, and one of our American delegates, well-known American religious leader, actually, and he said, you know, I'm getting really impatient. We need to start doing something. We need to be engaged in activity. And a Christian woman from Pakistan, because we also engage the religious minorities in Pakistan when we go over there. But a Christian woman put her hand up and said, don't underestimate the power of simply continuing to meet. Because these gatherings that we're having here, where we're just talking, can be, in many of our communities, life-threatening. And that was a great thing for me to hear as an American religious leader, that this staying the course in our conversation, in our relationships, in our interactions, is so important for Pakistanis, because Americans get impatient, mistrust develops, and the pattern of US-Pakistan relations is filled with fits and starts, and we're trying to address that.